The morning sun was soft, too soft for the kind of night you had. It felt almost insulting, like the world had no idea what happened to you just a few hours ago. You stepped onto the balcony with trembling legs, one hand clutching the railing because the bruises on your waist were still burning. Last night, Jungyun had been in one of his moods again, the kind where a single misplaced sentence from you could make him snap. You touched your arm carefully, blue, purple, a bit swollen. He had grabbed you too tightly when you tried to walk away. You remembered his voice, cold, calm, almost bold. I told you, I don't touch your face. I like it beautiful. Beautiful. The rest of you didn't matter to him. You swallowed hard, blinking tears away. For a moment, you honestly felt like jumping off the balcony would be easier than surviving another day. Junghyun had left early for work, leaving behind only silence and the faint scent of his expensive cologne that now made your stomach twist. You leaned forward, letting the wind brush against your bruised skin, and whispered to yourself, "How much longer?" There was no answer, just the ache inside you that never left. And then something pulled your attention, a movement, a familiar presence. Your eyes drifted to the garden next door. Jungkook, he was standing there, still in the sweatpants and black t-shirt he wore for his morning routine, hair messy, jaw sharp, phone pressed to his ear. He was talking to someone, brows slightly furrowed like he was scolding a friend or giving instructions to someone who wasn't listening properly. Typical Jungkook, you should have looked away, you should have walked back inside, but your eyes stayed on him like they always did. And then it happened, as if something invisible thread tugged him. Jungkook slowly turned his head and your eyes met. The world didn't stop, but your heart. Your heart forgot how to beat. The phone call, the wind, the pain, everything faded. It was just those 2 seconds of eye contact, 2 seconds that felt like the past was calling both of you back. High school fights, arguments over anything and everything, him pulling your ponytail just to annoy you, you kicking his desk just to watch him react. The stupid rivalry, the stupid affection hidden under it, the confession that you never took seriously, the silence that followed for years, and then you choosing his older brother, that broke everything, that changed everything. Jungkook never became your enemy after that. He just became distant, cold, quiet, like you were a story he wanted to forget. But now, looking at him from your balcony, you saw something in his eyes again, something he was trying so hard to hide, worry. His brows tightened the moment he really looked at you, at your stiff posture, at the way you were holding the railing with a painful grip, at the faint wince when you shifted your weight. You quickly pulled your shawl around your bruised arm. He shouldn't see, he must not see, but Jungkook wasn't stupid, not when it came to you. His phone lowered a little from his ear, his jaw clenched, just slightly, but you saw it. His eyes scanned your face, then dropped to the hand clutching your side as if you were in pain. There it was again, that unspoken thing between you two, that connection you both pretended didn't exist. You immediately looked away, turning your face so he couldn't read more than he already had. Your throat tightened. Why did he have to look at you like that? Why did he have to care now? When you were trapped in a hell you couldn't escape from. Your eyes stung, tears gathering at the edges. Maybe he saw the shine of it because he took one small step forward. Just one, as if he almost called out your name. But then he stopped. Of course he stopped. You were his brother's girlfriend, his brother's possession, his brother's pride. He had no right to come closer, no right to ask anything, no right to interfere. Even if deep down some small forgotten part of him still wanted to. Your heart hurt at the thought. You stepped back into the shadow of the balcony doorway, breaking the eye contact before you broke down. Jungkook's lips parted like he wanted to say something, but all he did was watch the space where you disappeared. His hand tightened around his phone. You didn't see it, but his expression changed from surprise to anger to something far more dangerous. Concern, real concern, the kind he never allowed himself to feel for you ever since the day you chose Junghyun. He whispered something softly, though no one was around to hear it. Why do you look like you're in pain? His fingers curled. What did he do to you? But those words were swallowed by the morning wind, and you were inside your room now, sliding down the closed balcony door, hugging your knees as quiet sobs finally escaped your chest. You didn't know Jungkook kept looking at your balcony for a long time, long after you were gone. Morning sunlight hit the glass walls of the company building as two luxury cars stopped in front of the entrance at almost the same time, one black, one silver. From the black car stepped Jungkook, adjusting his watch, shoulders tense but expression calm. From the silver car stepped Junghyun, fixing the cuffs of his suit. They reached the entrance simultaneously. Employees bowed, assistants hurried to greet them. Security opened the doors with practiced precision, but the moment that mattered was the one where their eyes met. And in that brief second, something cold crackled in the air. They did not look like brothers. They did not look like two men raised in the same house. They did not look like two people who once shared every meal, every childhood memory, every dream for the family business. Junghyun's eyes, dark, hard, unforgiving, held only disgust, the kind that doesn't come from anger alone, but from betrayal that never healed. He looked at Jungkook as if he wanted him to disappear from the world entirely, like Jungkook's existence itself was an insult. And Jungkook, he didn't glare back, he didn't roll his eyes, he didn't smirk like he once used to. He simply stood still, expression unreadable, jaw tight, shoulders stiff. He didn't hate Junghyun, but he couldn't stand the man Junghyun had become. The distance between them wasn't just emotional now, it was visible in the way they walked past each other without a single word, without a nod, without even acknowledging that they shared the same blood. Because behind Junghyun's heavy stare was the one truth only he knew, a video of you and Jungkook getting intimate. He never mentioned the video to Jungkook, he never confronted him, he never asked, he simply hated him. Every time he saw Jungkook, the same eyes, same smile, same face he once admired as his brother, he remembered you in Jungkook's arms. He saw betrayal, he saw humiliation, he saw that even in your worst moment, you sought Jungkook for comfort, not him. So he blamed Jungkook and punished you, not Jungkook, you, because you were the only one he could control. But things weren't like this always. You and Jungkook were the same age, born just 6 months apart. Your story began in high school, that ridiculous Tom and Jerry rivalry where you both pretended to hate each other but couldn't live without bickering every single day. He pulled your hair, you threw water on him. He stole your pen, you hid his bag. Everyone thought you two were either going to kill each other or marry each other someday. But Jungkook was immature. Your heart didn't want to gamble on someone who confused love with fighting. You wanted someone stable, someone calm, someone who wouldn't tease you till you cried, someone who wouldn't call you stupid during arguments just to win, someone who wouldn't drive a bike at crazy speed and laugh when you screamed, someone who didn't flirt with every other girl just to make you jealous. And then you saw Junghyun. He was older, calm, responsible, polite, and gentle. He spoke softly. He listened when you talked. He treated you like a lady. He was everything you wished Jungkook would be someday. So you convinced yourself he was the right one. And Jungkook, he was young, reckless, and wild. So you chose the brother who felt safer, at least. That's what you thought. In the beginning, he really was perfect. He picked you up after classes. He bought you coffee. He praised your intelligence. He called you precious until the day his behavior shifted. First, it was small, a little comment here, a little doubt there, a question about your clothes, a remark about your friends, then bigger things, checking your phone, calling you 10 times if you didn't pick up, getting irritated when you talked with male classmates, comparing himself to his younger brother, and then it escalated into what you never imagined. He started hurting you. Not your face. The world should see your beauty. That's what he said. But your arms, your waist, your ribs, and each time you try to leave, he whispered the threat that kept you trapped. If you leave me, I'll release that video of you and Jungkook. That one drunken night from the high school reunion, that one mistake made from pain, loneliness, and vulnerability, that one night when Jungkook held you like he was afraid you would disappear. Junghyun had the video, and that was the cage. You went to your high school reunion with the intention of pretending everything was fine. By then, your relationship with Junghyun had already started cracking in ways you couldn't explain to anyone. He wasn't the man you fell in love with, the man who had once been gentle, patient, and almost perfect in your eyes. For months before the reunion, something inside you kept breaking piece by piece. Junghyun had become controlling. He questioned your clothes, your friends, your messages. He often snapped over small things, then apologized in the most manipulative ways. You ignored these changes at first. You convinced yourself it was temporary stress, that he was overworked, that he still loved you, but deep down you already knew the truth. The man you had chosen for his stability had become the source of your instability. On the day of the reunion, he had already ruined your mood before you even stepped outside. He accused you of dressing up for attention. He said he didn't want you to go alone. He argued until you were emotionally exhausted. And yet he didn't come with you. He just made you feel guilty for leaving. By the time you reached the venue, you were mentally drained. Your friends asked why you looked tired, whether you were doing alright, but you couldn't tell anyone the real reason. People laughed, danced, you tried to smile, you tried to blend in, but the weight inside your chest never disappeared. The moment that broke you completely was when someone asked how your relationship was going, and you were forced to lie, forced to smile, forced to act like you were living the dream, all while your heart screamed the opposite. Seeing everyone happy, carefree, and full of old memories made you even more emotional because you remembered how carefree you used to be too. You slipped away from the crowd for some air, but the silence only intensified the ache inside you. That's when the drinks started. You told yourself you needed something to take the heaviness away. One shot turned into two, two turned into more. And that's exactly when Jungkook appeared. He noticed instantly that something was off. You weren't loud, you weren't teasing him, you weren't glowing like you used to. You were just empty. Your bubbly personality, the one he secretly loved, was nowhere to be seen. And in your drunken, emotional state, the loneliness became unbearable. Your heart felt fragile, like it was one wrong word away from shattering completely. Everything between you and Jungkook that night happened because of three things: your vulnerability, his worry, and the history you both shared. You were seeking comfort, anything that felt safe, familiar, and warm, and Jungkook could never ignore your sadness, no matter how immature he was once. No matter how much you had hurt him by choosing his brother. One moment he was telling you to sit down because you looked dizzy. The next moment you were crying in his arms. You broke down with the weight you had been carrying alone for months. You couldn't hide the pain anymore. The closeness, the warmth, the emotional release, it all happened naturally like two shattered people finding the only place they felt understood. That night wasn't planned. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't desire. It was pain meeting comfort, loneliness meeting familiarity, two hearts finding the wrong moment to fall into each other. When morning came, you woke up terrified, confused, and ashamed. You left before he woke up, and Jungkook woke up with guilt in his eyes because he blamed himself, even though neither of you fully remembered how things escalated. And somehow Junghyun found out, and that is where the real nightmare began. The house was silent after Junghyun left, but silence wasn't peaceful anymore. Silence felt like something alive, crawling over your skin, reminding you of all the places he had bruised the night before. You slowly entered the bathroom, avoiding your own reflection as if seeing your body in the mirror would make the pain more real. You lifted your shirt and your breath hitched. Your waist was a canvas of dark colors blue, purple, yellow in some places. His fingerprints were right there, shaped like iron burns. You covered your mouth quickly because a sob threatened to escape. You couldn't cry, not now. Junghyun hated it when you cried. He said tears were manipulation. You pressed your hand to your mouth until the sob died inside your throat. After a long time, you showered, dressed in a clothes that covered every inch of your body except face, and wrapped a shawl around your waist to hide the bruises. You wore long sleeves even though it was warm outside. Today was the company's executive meeting. You were expected to attend because Junghyun liked having you near him, like a possession, like a pretty accessory he could show off. Every step you took felt painful. By the time you reached the office lobby, you were already exhausted. The receptionist greeted you cheerfully. Good morning, ma'am. You forced a weak smile. Everyone here respected you. Everyone thought you were lucky. They never saw what happened behind closed doors. You took the private elevator to the executive floor, clutching your bag tightly, trying not to wince whenever fabric brushed a bruise. When the elevator doors opened, you stepped out, and your path crossed directly with Jungkook. He was walking toward the meeting room, files in hand, expression tired from the earlier tension with Junghyun. But the moment he saw you, he stopped. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was subtle, but it shook something deep inside both of you. He didn't say a word, he just looked up, down, slowly. Not in a disrespectful way, but like he was inspecting every small thing on your face, searching for clues, trying to understand why your eyes looked so dull today, why your shoulders were stiff, why you avoided looking at him directly. He couldn't see the bruises, but he sensed something was wrong. His brows knitted slightly, his jaw tightened, and for a split second, you saw it. Worry, silent and raw, undeniable, but you couldn't let him read you. Not here, not when Junghyun could appear any second. So you quickly broke eye contact, grabbed the meeting room's door handle and pushed it open almost desperately. Jungkook took a step forward as if he wanted to call out her name, as if he wanted to stop you and ask what was wrong. But before he could, you had already slipped inside. He followed right behind you. Executives stood from their seats to greet the CEO. Jungin was already there, chair pushed back slightly, hands folded on the table like a perfect leader. The moment he saw you, his expression transformed. Warm smile, soft eyes, arms slightly stretched. He acted like you were the love of his life, his pride, someone he cherished endlessly in front of people. You came, he said with a fondness that was nothing but performance. Everyone noticed, everyone admired, and you walked toward him because that's what you were expected to do. He pulled out the chair for you with gentlemanly grace. Everyone saw the CEO being the ideal boyfriend. No one saw his fingers tighten around the chair for a second. No one saw the flash of rage behind his smile. Because behind you, just two steps behind, Jungkook entered, and Junghyun's teeth clenched so tightly you heard the faint grin. Not visible enough for the staff, but visible to Jungkook. His jaw twitched, his shoulders stiffened, his eyes grew dark the moment Jungkook crossed the threshold. He hated when you and Jungkook entered the same room. He hated when Jungkook walked behind you. He hated that one night so much he could still taste the humiliation. But in public, he smiled. He pulled your chair closer to him like a loving partner. He placed a hand gently on your shoulder, the pressure just slightly tighter than necessary. He leaned in as if whispering something sweet. But Jungkook saw everything, the fake affection, the stiff posture, the jaw clenching, the possessiveness, and the silent warning in Junghyun's eyes. She's mine, don't even breathe near her. Jungkook lowered his gaze for a second, his fingers gripping the file tighter, not because he was scared, but because something inside him felt strangely protective. Something in you looked wrong, something off, something he couldn't ignore, and the next moment proved him right. He sat beside Junghyun at the long table. Jungkook sat across the farthest seat away. They didn't look at each other, not even once. The tension between them was thick enough to choke the entire room. Junghyun looked calm, composed, immaculate in his suit. But you knew the truth. That same hand resting on the table was the hand that left bruises on your waist. Jungkook looked like a storm. Sharp jaw, black suit, expression unreadable, but his eyes kept flicking toward you. Well, not openly, just quick, concerned glances. And every time he saw you flinch slightly in your chair, his grip on the pen tightened. At one point, Jungkook placed his hand on your thigh under the table, a casual gesture in public. But you tensed violently, not from affection, from fear. Jungkook saw it. He didn't mean to. You tried to hide it, but he did. Your eyes widened in panic, your hand gripping the armrest, your breath hitching like the simple touch burned. Jungkook's entire body stiffened. It was 1 second, but it changed everything. He watched you swallow nervously, adjusting the shawl around your waist again. He knew pain. He recognized pain. He recognized your pain. And that was the moment Jungkook's heart cracked, not because he loved you, not because he wanted you back, but because he realized you were afraid of his brother. And fear doesn't lie. Junghyun continued the meeting like nothing happened, but Jungkook kept watching you, analyzing, observing, remembering this morning, remembering your balcony, remembering your bruised expression. Something inside him whispered, "She's hurting and she's hiding it." The meeting ended, everyone left. You stood slowly, pressing your hand discreetly against your waist because the pressure hurt. Jungkook stood at the same time. For a moment, just a moment, your eyes met across the long table. His gaze wasn't cold anymore. It wasn't distant. It wasn't angry. It was worried, broken, confused, protective. You quickly looked away, his jaw clenched. Jungin placed a hand on your lower back to guide you out of the room. "Let's go, I'll walk you to the car." You flinched again. Jungkook's fists tightened so hard the pen in his hand cracked. Something was wrong, and now he wanted to know the truth, even if it destroyed everything.